The best way to get better at the guitar is by learning from other guitarists. I didn't do this for years. I was just a kind of self-taught guitarist. I just sort of blundered along, learning songs, and that was enough for me. And I kind of made progress, but I was never really intentional about getting better as a guitarist. I just sort of organically improved through playing lots of different songs. Now that's not a terrible way to learn, that's a pretty good way to learn. You pick up lots of different things from the musicians that you admire and the artists whose music you enjoy playing, but there reaches a certain point where you have to intentionally take on board some extra knowledge, otherwise you just plateau as a guitarist. And one of the best ways to do that is to get a book. I still think that you get more value from a book than maybe any other thing. So here are my 5 favourite guitar books. I'm not saying these are the best guitar books in the world, these are just the 5 books that have helped me personally the most. Okay, book number 1 is this book by Erich Andreas, Guitar Mastery Simplified. I absolutely love this book, I learned a lot. I don't think it's a beginner book, it's a book that will help somebody who is like a low-level intermediate guitarist. I think that book really helps you become a more advanced intermediate guitarist. One of the things I like best about Erich's book is just how easy it was to read. Very plain language. He wasn't trying to make himself look clever or be like a guitar elitist. He just speaks in plain language, and you can tell he just wants to help other musicians, and I absolutely love that. I think what Erich's made with this book is a really valuable and unique contribution that has helped, thousands and thousands of guitarists. Erich, if you ever watch this video, thank you, my man. I appreciate what you've done with this book. I learned a lot from you, and a lot of that stuff gets shared with our audience now. You have my respect and my gratitude. Okay, book number 2, right, it has to be a Beatles book. You guys know how much I love the Beatles. For years, I tried loads and loads of different Beatles books, and they never quite cut the mustard. The chords weren't right. A lot of the time, it seemed to me, they've been put together by people who weren't guitarists, which is kind of bizarre, but actually used to be very common. And then in the end, I finally found in Malta, in about 1994, I found this big, thick Beatles book, and it looked like it had been sort of hand-drawn, or at least transcribed by hand. And it was the best Beatles book I'd ever found. Now, I don't actually have the book here with me, it's actually at home because I still use it so much. My dad bought it for me as a gift because it was quite expensive, and I think that's probably the best gift that anyone's ever bought me in terms of like hours of pleasure that it's given me. What I love about that book is it's been transcribed with real care by brilliant musicians that have got a great ear, and not only are the lead parts accurate and the chords accurate, but there's embellishments in there that only a guitarist could know. I think that Beatles book is the definitive Beatles guitar book, and I treasure it. And if you pick it up, I hope it gives you some of the pleasure that it's given to me over the years. As a lot of you will know, the Beatles are my favourite band, and so to have this awesome book that's all basically just a big celebration of the Beatles and their music, and passing that musical joy onto other musicians around the world. It's just like such a beautiful concept, and I'm so grateful to the people who actually made that book. It was a team effort, lots of different people were involved in it. I might do a video doing a deep dive into that book actually. I'd like to know more about it. Super cool. Okay, book number 3 is this one by Troy Stetina. Now, it's just one of those little guitar books that you get in that you pick up from music shops. I don't know why they're always the shape. I wonder if anybody knows. I assume it's so it could fit in your guitar bag or whatever. But lots of these like pocket guitar books end up being like this weird shape. This is a brilliant book that taught me all the basics of lead guitar. Now, like, one of the cool things about this book, it's got all my notes in it. It's got this picture of Troy looking kind of scary on the front cover. But the actual stuff that's inside here is very sort of approachable. You can see there's lots of scale diagrams and stuff. I just really like how it's broken down. It's a relatively short book, but all of the meaty, important stuff is in there. If you want to become a better lead guitarist, that book, The Ultimate Scale Book by Troy Stetina, is the book to get as the perfect on-ramp into the lead guitar world. Okay, book number 4 is the Guitar Tab edition for Moseley Shoals, which is an Ocean Colour Scene album that came out in about 1994, 95, something like that. Ocean Colour Scene were a big, Britpop band. They were labelled as a Britpop band, but they were much broader than that. They were a very soulful and interesting rock group. And for me, the best thing about that group was the lead guitarist, Steve Craddock. Steve played extensively with Paul Weller and he also I think he was the guitarist on Stanley Road, the Paul Weller album, which I also love. And what Steve has a gift for is blending blues, rock, funk and soul. I think mainly when I think about him as a guitarist, I think about two things. I think about rock and I think about soul music kind of coming together. And he had all the licks and flicks that you'd expect from a kind of bluesy rock guitarist, but there was other stuff in there too, you know, some cool jazzy chords and soulfulness. There was an expression and a gentleness and a beauty about the way he played rock guitar. Don't get me wrong, like Steve Craddock can get down with the best of them, but there was more to him than that. There was more finesse, and I still think Steve Craddock is maybe one of the most underrated guitarists. I hardly ever hear him spoken about, but like, honest to God, that guy's guitar work is superb. That album, Moseley, Shoals, the Ocean Colour Scene album, that's one of my favourite guitar albums. Some great guitar moments in there, and so many lovely phrases that complement what's happening musically. It isn't just about the vocal melody with the guitar solo. No, that's not how Ocean Colour Scene work on that album. The whole thing is playing off one another. There's lots of counter melodies and interesting things that happen. I think you best see all of that come together on a track like The Day We Caught the Train. You know, just like an absolutely epic song. It blows my mind how that song was put together, all the different moments. The structure of the song is really, really interesting. But just from a guitar point of view, it's an absolute triumph as far as I'm concerned. That album is superb, tour de force of guitar playing, musicianship, melodic arrangement, phrases. I love the way he outlines chord moments. Like, I could just go on and on about it all day. As you can see, I absolutely love that album and Steve Craddock's playing on it. So the guitar tab of that book, it makes my list because it showed me a lot of the licks that he uses, and yeah, I just learned a lot from kind of really studying and digging into that album and that style of playing. If you want to become a better, you know, blues, rock, soul guitarist, there's a lot to learn from that album, and this book is the way you learn it. Okay, and the last book on my list is a plain old guitar chord dictionary. Now, this particular book here, I think it was written by this dude, Morton Manus. That sounds like it might just be like a publishing company's name. But I don't actually know if that's a person or the publisher, but Morton, if you are a human being and not a publishing company, thank you, mate. I learned so much from this book. This particular book, I think any guitar chord dictionary is handy for a developing guitarist, but this particular book, if you can get hold of it, so guitar chord dictionary, there you go, an Alfred Handy Guide, Morton Manus. I mean, this is an old book, you know, it's like from 1978 or something, but I'm sure there's a modernized version of it. This particular book I love, and all chord dictionaries are useful for this reason, because it obviously breaks down, you know, all different types of, you know, major, minor chords, sevens, nines, augmented, diminished, and so on, major sevens. So that's all cool, that's all useful, but this particular book, the reason I like this one is that it also has all of the movable bar chord shapes as E, movable E and movable A shapes. Very, very cool, really clear descriptions. And then at the back, this is the best bit of all for me as a songwriter, it has this, what it calls a magic chord accompaniment guide. Now what this has for each key is the three principal chords, the relative minor chords, and then alternative voicings. Essentially what this is it's just a big list of all of the chords in those particular keys. So it's a way of knowing very quickly what chords work well together. Now for me as a budding songwriter, when I originally got this book, this was like, oh my God, somebody's figured this out, this is amazing. And I didn't realize it was just based off simple music theory, because I didn't really understand any music theory back then. I just knew that when I combined these chords, it sounded amazing, and I didn't really know why. And then on the back of this, there is a diagram of the neck of the guitar. You know, like this book here, I don't know, maybe it cost me like £5 in 1996 or something like that, and it's still here, still in use now. Just an amazing, super useful book, guitar chord dictionary, I think written by Morton Manus. Morton, you're a legend, mate, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're still alive. Thank you very much for making this brilliant little book. Okay, so there you go. There's the 5 books that have helped me the most as a guitarist. I hope that they help you. I'll include links to them in the description to this video. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Hope you've learned some new things, picked up some new ideas. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.